I'm Melissa Yingst Huber. I work as an anchor for DTV News. My journey started quite a while ago during my college years. I was at Gallaudet University, and my favorite job was to be a signing anchor for the campus show called What's Up Gallaudet. I did that for about a year, and it was a weekly show. We would get together with the team to discuss the latest news on campus. We did some interviews and a variety of other things during that time. That year was so enjoyable for me. It was such a fun job, and looking back on it, it was one of my favorite jobs at Gallaudet, as a matter of fact. I had a brief stint with the media while I was living in New York City, and then I moved to Arizona. Arizona State University, ASU, had a friend of mine who was involved in the Deaf Hearing Network, DHN, which was a news show that would be accessible to both deaf and hearing individuals, which meant that all of the news was broadcast in both ASL and English, and she asked me if I wanted to be involved. I immediately said yes. I jumped at the opportunity. Looking back at my time at Gallaudet, I knew that I would want to be involved, and it brought back a lot of good memories. That's why I started doing this. This time it's more meaningful. I realize that there are so many students out there. I do work at a school for the deaf as a counselor, and I realize that many of those students out there are missing the news. They don't have access to it at home because the family doesn't sign, so they're missing a lot of information. I wanted to make a news show that's accessible to them so that they have a better idea of what's going on in our world. Plus, it's a fun experience. We get to create stories, work on development of stories, cover what's happening in our world, plus the deaf world as well. So it's the best of both. That was a fantastic experience while it lasted, but unfortunately our access to the ASU studio stopped because my partner graduated from their program, so we were no longer able to produce DHN. Then DPAN had a similar concept. They wanted to set up a news show that was also accessible to deaf, hard of hearing, and hearing individuals. So, based on my experience working with them from DHN, we had a good experience working together. They got in touch and asked me if I wanted to work from them. And of course, I said yes. Again, I wanted that opportunity. So I started working for DTV News around last year, and it's been a wonderful journey. That's the first question I often get asked. You're in Phoenix, Arizona, so how are you doing DPAN News? They're a well-known company in Detroit, Michigan, and they've been there for many years. So we have DPAN News in LA as well, and it's confusing for people. They don't understand how, but really it's thanks to technology. I film myself at home typically. I have a studio in my home now. I get a news story, and it may be late at night or first thing in the morning. I get a script and I read through that script and get ready to sign it in ASL with a teleprompter. I don't memorize everything. I do use a teleprompter and I sign while I film myself, and I send that clip to the Detroit office via online software. It's just like what they do in California. They film clips and send them to Detroit, and we also have something in Buffalo, New York as well. We have an anchor doing stories there that are also sent to New York. The team in Detroit gets all of those clips and they work their magic. They edit, they do all of the layover and the screen additions, the voiceover, and they add captioning as well, and then it's released. That's how it works. You can follow us on Facebook. That's where we typically post our daily news stories. What people often don't realize is that what we release on Facebook is really a very small portion of our daily news. The biggest platform currently is DPAN-TV. That's a sign language channel, so if you go to that website, you will see a variety of programs that are available. DTV News has a channel there, plus there is interviews with artists who are deaf and a variety of other individuals, and we just added a True Biz, which is essentially a Hollywood celebrity gossip channel. We also have Between the Lines, which is more of an in-depth investigative reporting site, and then we have our daily news release. We release an average of 15 to 20 minutes of news in-depth news, just like what you're seeing on ABC, for example, at the 5 o'clock nightly news. So there are a variety of clips that touch on politics, entertainment, sports, world events. It's exactly what we're releasing on our channel, but we have different anchors working in ASL, so you can enjoy some really fantastic programming on that full platform. Facebook, like I said, we only release some snippets, so that if you want to see the full news broadcast, you would need to go to the website. We have a wonderful team of writers. Really, our entire team is in Detroit. There are about 20 people who work there. They work with the writing, voiceover, editing, and they do wonderful magic. Our stories and ideas are really a team effort. We have team meetings to discuss what we want to see covered each week, what's hot, what's critical to be covered. So for example, the Olympics are really hot right now, and of course the upcoming election is very hot. So we want to cover those big issues. Sometimes it's really cool news that we want to throw out there, and the writers come up with some really great stories that we want to cover. And I, as an anchor, can see something that I want to cover and pitch that idea to the team as well. And our writers will work on that if they think that it's a good idea. Sometimes we see something happening in the community and we want to reach out to certain people and ask if we can cover their story, and that's fine as well. Sometimes people come to us with stories that they want to see covered, and they'll pitch their stories to us. For example, what happened recently is a student was facing discrimination, and that student wanted to share their story and have their voice heard, so they contacted us, and we found that story fascinating. So after some discussion, we turned that into a story that we ended up releasing.